Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 13. So our topic for this week is communication systems, and this will be my final lecture. So it's been great doing these lectures for you and having a chance to talk to some of you. Yeah. So I just need to emphasize as well, it's very important that you do the reading for this week before the practicum sessions, because a lot of our questions this week relate to the reading. So it's very important that you do the reading before the practicum sessions. Okay, so today we're going to start with a review, and then we're going to look at our topic, communication systems, and then we're going to practice diagnosing some faults. So that's the grammar for this week. Okay, so for this week, for the review, I want you to answer this question. What are 3 reasons that someone will need to ask for computing support? Okay, comment your answer on the YouTube video. So make sure you comment your answer. In the practicum sessions, myself and Miss Mona will share your comments in the video, so we'll know who hasn't commented. So make sure you do. Okay, and the challenge for this task is you cannot give any of the same reasons as another student. So that means you need to read what the other students have commented and make sure that you are not commenting the same thing. Okay. So here's a general question. How do you communicate every day? So what are any ways of communicating? So naturally, we communicate through talking. I'm communicating to you right now through talking, and also through YouTube and video and computer audio. What are some other ways that we communicate? All right, I'll give you another one. Sometimes we use our hands to signal things. Okay, in different ways, obviously. So I'm sure you all know thumbs up, right? That means you like something. So we use our hands. We call those gestures. All right. And then, of course, there are many different technologies used for communicating as well. So I want you to have a think about that. And we're going to discuss this in the practicum sessions. Okay, let's think about some issues with communication systems. So one problem could be if you live in a remote area. So if you live in a remote area, you might not be able to get mobile phone signals, or you might not have connection to broadband internet, to the cables, or other communications. If you have no electricity, then you're going to be very limited in your ability to communicate using technological systems. So in places with no electricity, it's going to all be about the natural communication, talking and using these things. Okay. So no signal. Yeah, so if you have similar to the above two, for some reason you have no signal, no Wi-Fi signal, or maybe there's no mobile phone service in the area. So that certainly limits your ability to communicate via the internet or via your phone. And of course, now phones use data, and we have different data systems like 5G is the new one. I don't know if anyone's using 5G in Indonesia, maybe not many. Uh, or we have 4G and 3G, etc. And those, I think they also operate using the mobile towers. So if you don't have a phone signal, that could affect your access to the internet and your ability to call and text. Okay, and then maybe you have no data because data costs money, so as well, and you have to find places to buy data sometimes, or sometimes you need a signal to get the data. So no phone. Okay, if you don't have a phone, you're quite limited. This little machine we carry in our pockets gives us a lot of different communication capabilities, a lot of different supporting features. So maybe you do have a phone, but your phone can't connect to the internet. Then your phone will be quite limited. Or maybe your phone isn't compatible with the 4G or the 5G, and maybe you're in an area where they only have the 4G access or something like that. So even though you have a phone, you might not be able to use it. So communication systems can give us a lot of connection, but they can also limit that connection sometimes. So I want you to think of some more possible issues, and in the practicum session, we are going to discuss some more issues with communication systems. Okay, so the reading this week is on broadband communications. Okay, it's very important you do the reading. You'll see the practice questions today are all related to the reading. And in the practicum session, I'm going to give you a quiz based on the rating. We're going to use the Menti platform, and it's the race quiz where there's a winner, etc. It's very fun. But you need to do the reading, okay, before the practicum session. All right, so excuse me. In the reading, we have a number of different acronyms that are presented. We have oh, excuse me. Okay, we have ISDN, we have DSL, we have B, D, and TA. So all of the meanings of these acronyms are given in the reading. So I'm going to quiz you in the practicum session on these acronyms. All right, so once again, this activity is related to the reading. So I'm going to ask you if these statements are true or false, okay? So we'll have a look at those in the practicum session. Maybe I'll read these out for you just so you can get some pronunciation. ISDN can only operate over a special digital telephone line. Two ISDN channels can be combined to give the use double the bandwidth. Computers connected to a satellite system do not need a modem. Cellular networks work in a similar way to mobile phone systems. DSL systems require a special digital telephone line. Okay, ways of diagnosing faults. So this is our grammar structures or words for this week. Okay, let's have a look at this sentence here. My projector doesn't want to connect. David is trying to identify the cause of the problem. He's not completely certain. Compare these versions. So here we have a problem. My projector doesn't want to connect. Okay. And here are some possible identifications of the problem. And we can call these identifications diagnoses as well. So they're trying to diagnose the problems. Okay, so here also we have a different set of probabilities. So based on the knowledge of David about what the problem is. Okay, so number one, it sounds as if you may have a driver fault. Okay, so may have it. So if someone says sounds like you may have, they're saying it could be. So remember the expressions of probability that we looked at before. So yeah, so could, that would be saying could. Okay, number two, it sounds as if you have a driver fault. So that expression would be more likely if the speaker says it sounds as if you have. Okay, more likely. You probably have a driver fault. So that is a higher amount of certainty than likely. And number four, you must have a driver fault. So here must means that it's certain. Okay, each statement is more certain than the one before. When you are sure that you know the cause of the problem, you can use must as in example 4. Okay, so in this example, we have David diagnosing his own computer problem. But of course, we could have maybe a computing support officer being the one diagnosing. So someone might call the computer services, and then the computing support officer will be the one diagnosing the problem. Let's have a look at an example here. I cannot make a call. So it sounds like your phone connection is not good. Okay, so here maybe this is someone talking to a computing support officer. They've called up the computing services. The computing services have said, "What is your problem?" And they have said, "I cannot make a call." And then the computing support officer thinks and says, it sounds like your phone connection is not good. Okay, so here we have another problem. My computer sometimes stops and reboots itself. And then we have 4 possible answers. Now, these 4 answers or responses each have a different level of probability. So we can say that the probabilities here depend on the knowledge of the diagnoser. Okay, depends on how much information they have and how much knowledge they have as to how certain they can be about the problem. So we have 4 different possible answers here. So my computer sometimes stops and reboots itself. It sounds as if you may have turned on your laptop for too long. It sounds as if you have turned on your laptop for too long. You probably have turned on your laptop for too long. You must have turned on your laptop for too long. So we have the different degrees of certainty. May have is like could, sounds as if, likely, probably, more certain than likely. Okay, you must, certain. All right, so practice one. I want you to create and diagnose 3 problems based on this week's reading. So make it a dialogue between a customer and a computing support officer. Okay, so let's look at 2 examples here. Example 1, every time I try to connect, I get a buzzing sound. It sounds like your satellite dish is not receiving signals. And example 2, I just bought my computer. It connects fine to the internet at my friend's house. The fiber infrastructure must be at fault, not your equipment. Okay, so in this practice, you can create the problem, and then you can choose the level of certainty you want. Okay, so there's many possible ways of answering here. So it's kind of open to you to be a bit creative, but you need to base all of your problems on the reading. Okay, we have a satellite dish. All right, and then practice 2, we have a list of faults here, and you have to diagnose the faults. Okay, so again, you can choose the level of probability depending on what you're imagining the level of knowledge of the diagnoser is, or the level of their access to the knowledge of the problem or their own expert knowledge. Okay, so we have 8 faults here. My laser printer produces very faint copies. Everything I type appears in capitals. My PC is switched on, but the monitor screen is blank. My monitor picture is too narrow. My mouse responds erratically. When I print out a page, the first 2 lines are missing. I tried to print a document, but nothing came out of the printer. I cannot make a call from my phone. Okay, so let me do number 1 for you. My laser printer produces very faint copies. So a possible diagnosis there would be, you may have run out of ink. You may have run out of ink. So that could be one diagnosis there. There are other ones possible with different levels of probability, of course. Okay, so you need to do practice 1 and practice 2. I'm going to ask you to provide answers and share your screens in the practicum session. So you need to have done these answers before the practicum session. Okay, so next week with Miss Mona, you're going to look at the World Wide Web. Here's our reference. So this was my last lecture. Thank you very much, everyone, for allowing me to do this practical teaching experience. And I look forward to seeing you all one last time in the practicum session. So thank you very much and enjoy your week.